What is up, everyone from TK Odds? I'm Eric, alongside my buddy, my bro, my good friend, Ray Flores from Premier Boxing Champions. And I'm blessed that you're actually taking a little bit of your time to have this chat with me to talk about this exciting event that's going to happen tomorrow. Edgar Berlanga challenging Canelo Alvarez. How are you, Ray? It's been a crazy week for you.
It has, man. I appreciate you, being so flexible, Eric, in terms of being able to do the show. I had to be at the weigh-in a little bit earlier in terms of things we needed to discuss and get ready for the massive crowd that we had outside of Toshiba Plaza by T-Mobile Arena. But people are getting ready. They're excited. Canelo against Edgar Berlanga, Mexican Independence Day weekend. We have a fantastic card from top to bottom. And finally, we really get an opportunity to see Canelo in action against a guy who is a heavy-handed power puncher in Edgar Berlanga. Mexico against Puerto Rico, the rivalry renewed once again. So going to be very compelling tomorrow night here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those cards where, it's so exciting because you get to have these two awesome nations when it comes to boxing history. We have had awesome battles like, for example, Hector El Macho Camacho against Julio Cesar Chavez, Tito Trinidad against, technically Oscar De La Hoya as a Mexican American. Uh, there's been so many great fights between Puerto Rico and Mexico that the bar is pretty high. So they have to deliver tomorrow. What is your expectation towards this fight?
I think that Berlanga is going to come out and start throwing big power shots early. And he has a knockout percentage, Eric, of over 73%. He's 22-0 with 17 knockouts, and he knows that he's going to have to get Canelo early and cold. Whereas as Canelo has progressed in his career, we've seen this evolution. He is a power puncher, and he still is aggressive, but we're seeing his boxing ability really get better and better with every single fight. He's very light on his feet, uses his jab, use a lot of feints and head movement. And I like this new sort of, developed, more intelligent Canelo Alvarez. But at the end of the day, Eric, I know being around both guys that Canelo is going to want to go out there and hurt Edgar Berlanga. I don't think it's just the case where he goes out there and just tries to outpoint him and stay away from danger. I think Canelo, being a very proud Mexican against a guy of Puerto Rican descent, Edgar Berlanga, he's going to, at some point in the first half of the fight, sit down in his punches and really try to hurt Edgar Berlanga. And I think we get a nice little back and forth in the pocket between the two.
That is an interesting matchup, and well, somehow I think Canelo always finds a way to win. We knew that he was getting a little bit out point in those first rounds against Jaime Munguia, but then that knockdown changed everything in that fight, and Canelo always pulls through one way or the other.
Well, I mean, he's just so battle tested. He's never been knocked out, never even, to be fair, I don't even know if he's ever been hurt. I mean, he's been in there against some big power punchers, Sergey Kovalev, Gennady Golovkin, just to name a few of the guys. James Kirkland, another one. And Canelo always has, his chin has been very, very good. And he hasn't taken much damage either. I mean, he's been involved in quite a bit of high level fights. This is his 26th World Championship fight appearance, and he has main evented during Mexican Independence Day weekend at least 5 times. So Canelo's been around the block for quite some time, but let's not forget, he's only 34 years of age, and I believe that Canelo still has a lot left in the tank based on the fact that he's not taken much damage in the course of his matchups.
Right. There's a couple of people already saying hi to you. They want to say hi in Spanish to
Tell him
you,
I said
Ray.
hello. Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Todo bien?
That's my guy right there, Ray Flores. Okay, so now let's talk about that co-main event because it's quite interesting. Because I've seen Danny Garcia has been kind of like up and down in terms of wins and losses, and he's has been quite inactive over the past couple of years. That last win over Jose Benavides, who is no joke. Now at middleweight, because we knew he made a career at 147 pounds. Fought Errol Spence 4 years ago, came up short. Now he's in this middleweight class where Erislandy Lara has just looked great, has looked amazing. He dismantled Michael Sarafa in just 2 rounds, and pretty interesting matchup because I've never seen Danny Garcia being like completely outclassed. I mean, he's been there in some kind of close fights, but not that I remember that he has been completely outclassed or outboxed in a fight against a tricky Cuban boxer like Erislandy Lara, who many people thought actually beat Canelo Alvarez back in 2014. What are your thoughts on that fight, Ray?
Well, I think that with Lada, you mentioned the fact that he's been on a heck of a run here at middleweight. He's gotten three straight wins by way of knockout. And I know that Danny Garcia aren't the names that you mentioned, like Michael Zarafa and Gary Spike O'Sullivan, but still, Lada has really done a very good job of being able to adapt later in his career. Let's also remember, Eric, that he's boxing's oldest current world champion. So, he's, up there in age, you would think, but also he's changed his style rather than being a technician and coming from that Cuban school of boxing where you outpoint your opponents. He's been really sitting down in his punches and hurting people. And I think a reason of that is because he has settled into a weight class that fits him so well, 160 pounds. On the opposite side, with Danny Garcia, he's been inactive for about 2 years plus, and he's never fought at 160. But with Danny Garcia, there's a lot of motivation because he feels in his mind, if he becomes a three-division world champion, then without a doubt, that'll punch his ticket to the Hall of Fame. And he told me today, after he weighed in and had the face-off with Lara, that this would be the biggest win of his career. So Danny has a lot of motivation. He's very focused, and he realizes that a win over Lara tomorrow night certainly furthers and cements his legacy because that's something that he's desired. He said that it was impressive being two-division world champion, undisputed at 140, WBC welterweight champion, had a cup of coffee at 154 against Jose Benavidez Jr. And now, if he's able to become a three-division world champion, I think that really says something, and that sort of cements the Danny Garcia legacy.
I couldn't agree more. Like that guy has been in some top fights. I don't know. I think that we might get another footwork fast with Erislandy Lara, maybe kind of like moving around and doing using that Cuban boxing style that has always worked for him throughout the years. I don't know. That's kind of like what I see happening. Maybe maybe I could be wrong. I don't know.
It'll be interesting, though, Eric. I'll tell you that. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing those guys go out there and mix it up.
Okay, and now let's talk about that fight between Trevor McCumbee and Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is a gigantic favorite when it comes to odds for this fight. He's pretty much like Canelo type of odds, like minus 6,000 last time I saw it. Trevor McCumbee is undefeated. He went away from the sport a couple of years. Looked pretty good in that pro box fight that I watched against. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he looked good.
Patrick
But Caleb,
McCory.
yeah, that guy. And Caleb Plant has been there with a Barry Vaz of 168 pounds. I don't know. I think this is a fight for Caleb to kind of like bounce back after that loss to David Benavidez. But I don't know. This guy McCombie is one of those dark horses that maybe not that many people know about, and somehow he can make a tougher fight than the odds suggest. I don't know. What do you think, Ray?
I think that McCumbee cannot be overlooked. You cannot, you have to take him. He's 28 0, 21 knockouts. And when you get to the stage, Eric, every fighter, when it comes to being a professional combat sports athlete, they dream of fighting here in Las Vegas, having your name on the marquee, being a part of big events like this. And for McCumbee, this is his opportunity. And he's doing it against a guy who's coming off of an 18-month layoff. But typically, I would say you need to look at if there's any ring rust. But with Caleb Plant, I'm not worried about ring rust. Caleb is always in the gym. He's a student of the game. He loves to compete. He's been saying the entire training camp, it's the revenge tour. It's the revenge tour. Well, he's focused on once again becoming a world champion because this is for the interim WBA super middleweight championship of the world. So the winner of this fight certainly puts themselves in line for bigger fights at 168 that at the current time does include Canelo Alvarez. So with Caleb, there's been bad blood between the two guys. They really, it's clear that they don't like each other. And I think that Caleb is of the mindset that I want to prove that this guy does not belong at this level, on my level, and wants to demonstrate that even though he came up short in his last appearance against David Benavidez, of which Caleb left everything inside the ring and really fought, you know, tooth and nail against David Benavidez. But I think Caleb Plant comes out there and really demonstrates why he's truly one of the best super middleweights on the planet.
Yeah, I think he gets this one done, but it's gotta be a close fight. I might even get like a split decision or something like that. That's what
Wow.
I'm kind of
Okay.
predicting.
Interesting.
Okay, and now we got another guy that, hey, he's been around for a while. He was a world champion, came up short against like arguably the number one pound for pound super bantamweight in the world, pound for pound even boxer in the world. And now I know with Stephen Fulton Jr., who I know you know very well, is going up against Carlos Castro, who has a decent record. But I don't know. I think this is another fight that we can get a bounce back from Stephen Fulton, who, I mean, he gave a run for his money to Naoya Inoue, and who knows, man? What do you think?
Well, what I've been hearing about with Stephen Fulton is that this is the best Stephen Fulton we're going to see. They love the fact that he's at 126 pounds. He's
There you
trained under the
go.
guidance of Derek Boozy Ennis, which happens to be the father and trainer of Dron Boots Ennis. And
There you
and
go.
with Fulton, he's happy to be back. He's been waiting for this opportunity to, step inside the ring again and prove that, his only loss is, you have stumbles in the course of your career. In combat sports, that's natural. It happens. Not everyone is going to be able to beat Floyd Money Mayweather at 50 and 0 and retire with an undefeated record. So if Fulton, he feels like he's got a lot to prove. Carlos Castro, though, can be that spoiler because, he's fought here at 126. He's been in there against the likes of Brandon Figueroa and also Luis Neri. And I think he's learned a lot in those fights and in those defeats. But Stephen Fulton Jr., though, to me, his ring IQ, his savviness inside the squared circle, I just think he has such a complete game. And Carlos Castro is going to have to chase him and try to put him in bad positions in order to gain that W. So I'm very curious to see, and it's a great way to be for free before we get live on the pay per view. So a great way to sort of send us off into our four main card fights.
Yeah, I think Fulton is a technician, and he's gonna find a way to actually get this fight to a clean decision. I don't know. That's what I see happening. Okay, now we also get a fight that's quite interesting in the terms of, there's a lot of questions that I have in terms of what's going to happen between Rolly Romero and Manuel Jaimes, because we know Rolly came up short against People Cruz, and there's a thing with the, when he gets hit too much, God knows what's going to happen. And Jaimes has a decent record, only one loss, and I don't know. What's your take on this fight?
I mean, it's an interesting fight because I look at it. He's been very relaxed all the fight week, and at times Rolly is one of the most unique personalities in the sport, and what I mean by that is that he'll be very serious one minute, and then the next minute he'll be super, like, he'll be joking around and standoffish or whatever, and he's always been great to me, but Rolly's been very particularly relaxed all the fight week. And I don't know if that's him. He was wearing a sweatsuit. I didn't get an opportunity to ask him about it because I had other things that I had to address in our, weigh-in interview. But he was wearing like a Bruce Lee inspired tracksuit that he was wearing. And I'm wondering, with how calm he is, his approach, how relaxed he is, if he's trying to channel, as we say, his inner chi and be so just locked in personally on the task at hand that loud, that cocky, that boisterous Rolando Romero. I don't know if that's there for this fight. I don't think he's lacking any confidence, but it's a different personality of Rolly Romero compared to that of what we're used to. Typically, we see like the antagonist. We see a guy who's making these insanely bold predictions. He made a prediction today, but it was more in a quiet, subdued manner. Taking on a guy in Manuel Jaimes, he's won four in a row. He's training under the guidance of Robert Garcia. So, he's coming from a good gym and obviously very good lineage and pedigree. And this is the biggest opportunity of his life. Is he if he's able to defeat Rolly Romero and hurt Rolly early in the fight, can he create doubt in Rolly's mind? Rolly has lost two of his last three losses, or two of his last three fights. He's lost to Tank Davis, also lost to Isaac Cruz, knocked out in both. So I wonder what that does to the psyche of Rolly Romero if Manuel Lima is able to rock him and hurt him early in the fight.
I believe that the chance that Jaimes has is to actually knock Raleigh out. Because to be fair, he was quite winning some rounds like against people Cruz and Gervonta Davis. Because he's got good technique. As long as he doesn't get clipped too much, he can actually win rounds.
Yeah,
That's the thing, you know.
no
But
doubt
he's
about
also
it.
a power. Yeah, but he's also a power puncher. And the most interesting thing that you just said is that we might actually see a more mature Rolly Romero this time around because he was in that arrival that I watched where your coworker interviewed him. He seemed calm. He seemed relaxed. He seemed quite more focused and not the typical trash talking Rolly Romero that's gonna say bad things about Shakur Stevenson and other fighters.
Of
You
course.
know, he seemed different. He seemed different. So I'm interested in to see what version of Rolly Romero this is. If this is a completely new version of Rolly Romero that we're going to see on Saturday, I think he could win, but we'll have to see what kind of game plan he has for this fight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. I think we can get a really good Rolly Romero, or we can get a Rolly Romero that might have. I don't think he's underestimating James, but I think that James is going to prove to us that he's better than what people think because he is this unknown quantity.
Okay, there's a couple of interesting fights. There's the fight between Roy Mambilla and what's his name? I forgot his name.
Who?
Roy Mambilla is going up
Oh
against.
yes, Royman Vi. He's in action. I like Royman a lot. We watched him in Panama, time
Yeah.
ago, and I'm curious to see him back in action. He's always fun and entertaining to watch. People have told me, his entire camp told me that we're going to see the best version of him. He's been in there against Boots Ennis, so curious to see how he does on tomorrow night.
Yeah. And there's one guy that his name is Veg Nurmagomedov. I think that's his name, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that's on the streaming portion. I think that's
That's on
on
the
the off
stream
TV
portion.
portion.
Okay, okay. He's going up against Joshua Conley.
Yeah.
That guy, I would love to see what outcome comes out. Well, I think it's gonna be a great card. I think it's gonna be full of action. It's gonna be an interesting card because we're in the Mexican Independence weekend. We're competing against the UFC and all that stuff. It's gonna be. I mean, if you love combat sports, this is the weekend for you because
Absolutely.
okay. If anyone watching, it's in the U.S. maybe or they're watching in the U.S. How can they watch the show?
It's easy. PBC on Prime Video. Go to Prime Video, Amazon, and order the pay per view. Check it out. And also, Eric, got to mention the fact that the first Friday of the month, One Championship is on Prime Video for free. So make sure to check out that action. We got a great show coming up in October. Pumped about that.
I gotta tell you something, and I every time that I talk to the people that I ask, for predictions and things like that all the time, I tell them that I'm very proud to call you a friend,
Oh,
and
thank you, man.
the person that actually told me, man, you gotta give your predictions, you gotta dedicate your life to this because you're really good. It was almost a year and a half ago that I started TKS when you told me, hey, Canelo Alvarez and John Ryder, they might end up in an knockout. I said, no, I think it's going to go to this. And he said, man, what are you thinking? Remember
Of
that was a
course,
great.
yeah, man. I mean, you're brilliant at what you do, bro. I love watching your career grow and develop and everything else. I mean, it's just awesome to see and keep up the great work, bro. And thank you for covering combat sports because you do an amazing job.
Guys, remember, Ray Flores is the official voice of one championship. It was last week that we had a
in
great
Denver.
event in Denver with Super Leg pulling off an awesome KO. It was an
Jonathan
elbow
Haggerty.
KO to Jonathan Haggerty. It was a great car. Also, we had Sack finishing Liam Harrison.
Yeah.
What a great car, man! Every time I see you, it's great because the way you announce alongside Mitch Chilson, who's also a great guy. You know, it's awesome.
We have a blast, man. Myself, Mitch Chilson, Dom Lau, Rich Franklin. We love it. And you know what? We're led by our CEO, Chaudhry Sidiotong, who is a visionary. And I'm very excited about October in Thailand. November, we'll be in Atlanta at State Farm Arena. Anatoly Malakin and Rug for the one heavyweight MMA heavyweight championship of the world. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a fun fall for combat sports, including one championship.
Yeah. Okay. So when is the next card? The next card that you're
It'll
gonna
be the
call?
first week of October. I believe it's October 4th or 5th, that Friday. So we will be out in Thailand. We got, Alexis Nicholas defending his championship against Rehi and Ursil. The rematch, Nicholas victorious over Ursil in their first matchup. So very excited about that. And then we got a stack card in Atlanta. We just keep the momentum going, my man. That's what we do.
That's right. Alexis Nicholas just pulled up a huge upset against Region Ersul. I remember that fight.
Oh yeah, it was excellent. I mean, what a performance by Nicholas! But Urcel is coming back to try to regain the throne that he got knocked off. But we'll see what happens.
And what about that card? I think it's gonna be. I'm not sure the date between Taiwan Chai
Oh,
and
that'll be one Friday fight. So that'll be at the end of the month on a Friday.
that
So
was one
yeah,
Friday fight. Okay, okay,
Super
okay, yeah,
Bon
yeah.
and Smoking Joe Nadawad. But Tao and Shai and Joe Nadawad is penciled in for Atlanta in November. So that's going to be a heck of a fight again. They rematch and go at it. Man, oh man, what a matchup that they had at 167 in June with Tao and Shai pulling off the victory. But Smoking Joe Nadawad fighting in his adopted hometown of Atlanta has a lot to prove and wants to really upend Tao and Shai, the great Tao and Shai.
Yeah, that was a razor thin decision. I saw it, and it was a great matchup. Yeah, Taiwan Chai is a beast. You know, he adjusts pretty well. Okay,
Absolutely.
Ray. So, okay, I'm gonna let you go now. But the first thing that I want to say is thank you for taking this time to talk with us to give us your thoughts on what's gonna happen tomorrow. It's gonna be a great card, and I love talking to you always about combat sports, my man.
Hey, man, always a pleasure, Eric. Have a great one. Enjoy the weekend. Keep up the phenomenal work. I enjoy looking at all your stuff, your videos, your predictions. You do amazing, man. All the best to you and the entire crew out there. Tell everyone I said hello.
Okay, Ray. See you around,
Later, man.
chicos.
Take care.
Despídase de Ray. Hasta luego. Nos vemos.